What's going on? It's Sports Counterpoints podcast. I'm GB and with Brian and Coop. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's up? What's up? It's December the 5th, 2023. It's crazy. This year is already almost over. We're talking college football playoffs as we near the championship for college and bowl season. We'll talk about the Heisman finalists and what they think will happen there. There's a new proposal for the NIL. So we could talk about that as far as the name, image, likeness deals that college athletes can receive. And then we'll do some NBA and NFL to round it out. So let's start with the college football playoffs. Coop, you were saying let's get this started first. And you have your four teams are official. Of course, Alabama's in there because they always going to be Michigan, Washington, and Texas.
Yeah, those were the four. I think we had a text on our text chain. I think we all, or a few of us, made predictions on who would be the final four. This was my final four, and I believe the committee got it right. They usually, most of the time, always get it right, but they got it right here. I know a lot of people were upset about Florida State because they were undefeated and didn't get in. I get it, but I don't get it because it's not an undefeated that type of I guess invitation. It's basically who is the best teams. I understand that they're 12-0 and they have a resume, but it was built off a quarterback who is no longer playing for them. And if you watch Florida State without their quarterback, it was brutal to watch. You can't put a team that can barely string together 2 first downs in a row to play against Alabama, Michigan, Washington, or Texas. It's bad football. They got the right teams. And another reason why they got the right teams is college football's problem is, which is the reason why I'm happy the Pac-10 is no longer here and those good teams are going to the Big Ten, is that college football has a big game problem. I don't need to see Arizona State play USC. I don't need to see UCLA play Cal. I want to see the heavyweights go at each other. These Power 5 heavyweights go at each other. Washington, Texas, that's going to be a good game. That's SEC versus Big Ten. Michigan, Alabama, same thing, SEC versus Big Ten. And the SEC and Big Ten are trying to push everybody out the way anyway and take over regardless. So I'm fine with it. I can't wait to see both of these games. And if Florida State was in it, there'll be 2 touchdown underdogs at least to all these teams, and nobody wants to see more bad games. Florida State can prove their point when they play Georgia, and they're 2 touchdown underdogs against Georgia. And Georgia, if anybody has a complaint, I would say it'll be Georgia because they've won 29 straight games and lost by 3 to Alabama, and they're out. They're not making a big fuss about it. I mean, they lost. I mean, it's just the way it goes. But if anybody has a complaint, it should be them, not Florida State. So I'm okay with it. Can't wait to watch these games. Well, how you feel about it, Brian?
Yeah, no, Georgia doesn't have any right to complain. I'm glad they shut the hell up. SEC teams suck, first of all. I'll just put that out there. They don't play nobody until they get to the playoffs. So if you get a loss in the SEC, you need to stay way the hell away from the playoffs. I do think that they're going to have a really good game, though, because they're playing Florida State. It's Georgia versus Florida State. That's all not a playoff game, but it's a quality matchup. Look, like you said, I do think that the team, they got the right teams in the playoffs, and it's not an undefeated in a record and all this other stuff, and there's been that argument that's made. I totally understand why Florida State is upset. They were undefeated, they had a great year, they were playing really great football up until the point where their quarterback got hurt. But as you said, this is supposed to be it should be 8, but the 4 best teams playing against each other, and they're not one of the 4 best teams right now. And if the argument was just that they're undefeated, then number 23 Liberty should also be in the conversation because they are also undefeated, and I believe they're playing Oregon. And I would expect that Oregon will knock the socks off of Liberty in that game. So it's hard to argue. And when you have these one win teams get in, if you were going to put
one loss teams.
One
you
loss,
said one win.
Yeah, one win. Yeah, one loss teams get in. If you're going to put Alabama in, Texas was just obviously going to have to be there, and they were obviously going to be better because they had a team that gave Alabama the 1 loss. So anyways, I do think that it'll be an interesting matchup. I believe Michigan is the best of these 4 teams and will ultimately win it. But I think that Rose Bowl game is going to be outstanding. I think it's going to be it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. I don't know if I want to go, per se, just because it getting in and out of the Rose Bowl is a nightmare. But it's going to be one hell of a game to watch. I also think that Washington Texas game is going to be one hell of a game as well. I think Washington can probably win that. We'll talk more about that as it gets closer.
Yeah.
So along with the playoffs, they have the bowl season and the other games that are going on. So, like I said, you have what is it?
The Home
Oregon is
Depot
playing
Bowl?
Liberty.
Oh, okay.
Florida State is playing Georgia. Penn State is playing Ole Miss. That's a 10-11. And then Ohio State is playing Missouri. I think all of those games are entertaining, but I don't think anyone will be shocked if Bo Nix came out tomorrow and said, "Hey, I'm not playing in that game." Or one of the other, if Harrison Jr. says, "I'm not playing in the Ohio State Missouri game." The only players that I would expect to see are the ones that are playing in the playoffs, and that is kind of a sad change, but understandable about what's happened with the bowl game season, because there's just too much money to see a player go get hurt in a game.
Next year is going to be 12.
Ultimately, is meaningless.
Next year is going to be 12, so everybody should play then. If it's 12 teams and there are 8 or whatever, how many they said there's going to be. So
when
they won't
teams
have
that
that
are
problem.
in the playoffs, as long as they're in the playoffs, I understand why they'll field a team. While the players will play, but I don't see why anyone would play if they're not in a playoff situation and competing for a national championship. Bowl games are useless. You get all the tchotchkes and all the bags and all the gifts, even if you do not play. But we'll be talking about a little while now. It could be a situation where the NIL money makes it so that some of these players will be willing to play.
Yeah, definitely. Washington, I guess game I'm looking forward to is Washington and Texas, because that's going to be entertaining. Washington has an NFL quarterback with NFL receivers. Texas has talent all the way around and no coach. Washington has the better coach. So it's who's going to win out, the talent or the better coaching. So we'll see what happens. Talent and worse coaching, or better quarterback and better coaching. We'll see what happens in that game, because Texas is very, very talented. I said that from the start of the season. Alabama, Michigan is going to be a snoozer. They're just going to run the ball 50 million times. So not looking forward to watching that, but I hope Michigan
they
wins.
lost to a number 12 team, and Washington hasn't lost at all. I just don't see how Washington loses that one.
We'll see. GB, no thoughts?
I don't really watch college. I can't lie.
GB, I got to tell you this, GB. This year, college football had the most viewers ever in the history of existence of college football. They had a lot of viewers this year in college football.
You think there's any specific reason?
I just think college football is just fun, entertaining. It's good games. You got these networks hyping up all these conferences and these players and everything, and it's good. People have an emotional connection to college players when they go to the NFL that you just don't have in college basketball, because they don't stay long enough. You just don't really know who these people are, whereas in college you do. And college and NFL, they work together, unlike in NBA and college basketball or NBA and the Big Three. They don't work together. NBA doesn't work with anybody. NFL works with college football, so they kind of mirror each other in things that they do, and they're both for-profit organizations, if we want to be honest about it. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why
I think it's simply just because of marketing. I mean, we always ask why they put preseason rankings out and why they start ranking teams week 1. It's because of marketing. Because USC for the first 5 weeks was a top 4, 5, 6 team, right? They weren't even ranked at the end of the season, but they were able to put their games on television and say, number 4, 5, 6, 7, USC goes up against XYZ. They knew full well, or expected, that at some point in time they'd falter. The same thing is true for all those people who were watching all those Colorado games. I mean, that was had a lot to do with the viewership numbers. Colorado, most people who knew football or understood football knew that Colorado was not going to finish undefeated or with a great record. Whether it was 4 wins or 6 wins, no one thought that they were going to do that well, but they were glad to put them in the top 25 early on and try and make that happen. It's silly. It means nothing in the overall scheme thing, but man, is it great for marketing to be able to say it's number 4, blah, 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 or number 1, Alabama, right? They started off or Georgia, number 2, Georgia, playing, number 8, Texas. Ooh, wow. A number 8 team beat a number 2 team. Well, in hindsight, it was a number 3 team, right? Beat a number 4 team.
You made a good point. I was saying they kind of followed the NFL's path, which is marketing, but you made a good point about the Colorado. A lot of people was watching because Colorado, and I said they are not going to win 5 games. That team is not good, and they went they lost 8 straight. So
it's going to take a second to turn the
program
around.
Both on the same page.
They fell for that hype.
My dislike for for Dion aside, it was just obvious that team was going to have an uphill battle. And they still did 400% better than they did last year.
Yeah, right. They only
Exactly.
won one game last year, right? You know,
Exactly.
speaking of that, Brian, today I didn't know this, but the Heisman Trophy finalists came out. Now, the Heisman Trophy, just like the MVP awards in professional sports, I don't really care who wins, but I just want to look at who the finalists were. And we got Jaden Daniels, quarterback from LSU. We got Marvin Harrison Jr., by far the best wide receiver in college football at Ohio State. You got Michael Penix Jr., the Pac-12 is getting some love. Michael Penix, the quarterback for Washington, and then you got Bo Nix, the quarterback from Oregon. So who do you have winning? I think the ceremony is this Saturday, December 9th.
Yeah, so let me just run down the odds because I was looking this up as we were going to talk about this. Jaden Daniels is minus 1430. He's the only one on the opposite end of the odds. Michael Penix is plus 600. Bo Nix is plus 1600. And Marvin Harrison is plus 15,000. The fact that he was even a finalist, he was 8th on the list behind Jalen Milroe and Carson Black and Jordan Travis and some others. So, you know, he's an honorary member. They wanted to commemorate the fact that he had such a good career and let him come and wear a tuxedo that night. If I were picking who the Heisman would go to, I would pick Michael Penix. I've been a fan of his all season. He comes from an undefeated team. He beat one of the other guys that he's going up against twice. And he finished the season healthy and is playing in the college football championships. I will not be surprised if they give Jaden Daniels the award. I think some of that is, again, marketing, because Florida State went from a playoff team to out of the playoffs as a result of his absence. That is a good marketing strategy for someone who's trying to market Jaden Daniels to win. So I'm gonna pick Michael Penix, and I think that's the right choice. I will not be surprised if Jaden Daniels wins.
If I had a vote, it would be Marvin Harrison because he's just the better player out of all four, in my opinion. But if I had to pick a second person, it would definitely be Jaden Daniels. 40 touchdowns and 4 interceptions is nothing to sneeze about. That team was bad, not that good. It just wasn't that good as people thought they would be. I thought they would be much better.
What was it, 50 yards in the last game the quarterback had on that so it wasn't the offense that was carrying him. He was carrying the offense.
You're right. That's him. From 40 touchdowns, 4 picks. I mean, that's an incredible season. But I wouldn't. The only person I would be really surprised who won would be Bo Nix. It's always a guy at every Heisman Trophy ceremony that you know has no shot of winning. To me, I know you said that's Marvin Harrison. For me, it's Bo Nix. You just got beat by Michael Penix Jr. twice. I mean, I don't even understand why he's even there. You know,
the only reason I think it's Marvin Harrison is just because they do not. It is a quarterback award.
Right, it's quarterback award. Right.
But it's a quarterback award.
Right.
And I think that they kind of gave Marvin Harrison the lifetime achievement
award
of being able to wear a tux and be there on.
Right. That's the Soul Train Lifetime Achievement Award. There you go. That's what it is. Yeah. Because I don't know if you've ever seen him play, Glenn, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is really good. I mean, he's really good. Really
good.
I know who his pops is, and I'm sure he had every opportunity in the world to be that, but also put the work in.
Yeah, he's gonna be better than his dad. He's 6'4", 210. His pops is like 5'8" or 5'10" or something.
Marvin's hands were crazy.
His dad was a Hall of Famer. He will, and one of the great ones, but he will be better than his dad.
Yeah.
Now, if everything shakes out right, yeah.
But one thing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. You got to end up with a quarterback at some point, but no, definitely he has the skills for sure, and genetics is something. Get to 6'4", and then if your dad is Marvin Harrison, and you said I want to be, I want to play football, I'm sure he's like, all right, well, go talk to Uncle Peyton and Uncle, Uncle
Cousin Reggie Wayne.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So
no doubt.
Yeah, that ain't bad. Nice. Okay. What about so kind of staying in college? You mentioned a new offering that the NC2A mentioned for the NIL deal. What's up with that, B?
For anyone who's been paying attention to us for a little while, before there was an NIL deal, I was a big proponent of the ability for schools to pay players, and they created the NIL deal, and it's like, okay, fine, we kind of got there, but the schools were not paying players. And the president of the NCAA, who's as crooked as a $3 bill, has always been like, well, there's student athletes, they get this, they get that. There's students. We need to think about them being students until it's time to make money. And of course, you wanted to bleed them dry. Well, what it seems to me is that he's kind of figured out that he's lost that argument. Because today, or I should say recently, because I think this was in the mix for a while, he put forth his proposal to change the NIL rules to allow the schools to establish a trust fund that can create deals so that the schools get NIL money, so that Nike money that they get for wearing all the Nike gear can go into, in some subset of it, into a trust fund where they can pay all the players on the team, not just the ones who are getting NIL. Anyone and everyone on the team. I think this is a wonderful idea. I think it's more along the lines of what it should be, because the third stringer in Alabama should be able to get paid. He's playing for a top team. He's playing in moments, in big moments, and he's valuable. Maybe not as valuable as the quarterback or the starting quarterback, starting running back, but this would establish a trust fund for each school to collect money to then make decisions to pay the players on those schools. They also talk about creating a subdivision for these teams. So going back to what you were talking about, Jason, this would be kind of a heavyweight group, right? These are all these schools that would opt to do this. Not every school in the FBS would have to, but these schools that would opt to do it could possibly be moved into one subdivision of the Division I, where they would battle other heavyweights that were also paying their players and whatnot. So it's almost a way for those people who watch soccer. It's almost a way to create that super tournament that they always talk about, where all the best teams from all the different places come together. Well, this would be the Alabamas playing the Michigans and playing, if they actually get it all sorted out that way. But the part of the proposal was to create a second subdivision of the FBS, which is basically D1, where these teams that had the NIL funds. So no more Utah States playing USCs. It would be, unless Utah State wanted to create one of these and thought that they could get money. But this is kind of meant to be a heavyweight bout. I also think that I think Alabama's lurking in the backgrounds here, because they had no NIL money. You don't want to pay kids going to Alabama NIL money. But the school, with their name and Saban and all of that, could probably raise quite a lot of money for the school to be able to pay their players. And then the last thing I would say is, we were talking about the lack of players playing in non-playoff bowl games. If you get if Caleb Williams by example was offered a $250,000 rider from the school to play in that game, there's a high likelihood that if the school can pay and the NIL can pay, and it's based on playing games and playing the bowl games, those kids will start playing. Jason, what do you think?
Yeah. So I think, well, first of all, I know people are bagging on college football. Just to let you guys know, NIL has been going on forever, and college basketball is way, way more sleazy and schemier than college football, because there's very few talented high school basketball players in that. If you offered a football player 40 G's, he will go to your school. You offer a top high school player 40 G's, parents will hang up the phone on you and tell you never to call back. That's way too little money. So, but just off of that, college football paying players, I don't care. But I think every rule that's happening now, Brian, is to crush everybody else. It's to remove everybody, dissolve the Pac-12, dissolve these little guys, and eventually we're just going to get these 50 or 60 schools or whatever schools that can pay money, and all they're going to do is play each other, and they're going to break away from the
25.
NCAA. Yeah, 25. Okay, and they're going to break away from the NCAA, and it's like you said, it's going to be the heavyweights versus the heavyweights. There's no more of these, bloodbath games, playing, Mercer playing Alabama, stuff like that. All that stuff is going to be out the door, and I don't trust everything that's happening to say it's for the good of college football, because it's not. It's for the good of certain people, and for
100%.
certain people to collect most of the money and play each other, and then just have their own little league. And I think that's what every rule is geared towards. Just that. That's all.
Yeah. Well, look, this is a proposal, not a rule or anything like that. But
Right,
100%. I think you've hit the nail on the head. The NCAA realized that at some point in time they were going to lose control over the mass product, and so they had to figure out a way to keep it. The best one way to keep that is to say, hey, there's really only 25 teams. Let's call it maybe 30. Let's call it 30 teams. Right. Let's call it 30 teams. So why don't we subdivide those out? Let them pay their players, let them do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
And let's create four divisions or conferences with 6 teams apiece. West, North, East, South, right? And put them together.
Yeah.
And let's focus our money on that. And how much money do you think they'll make?
Oh, they'll make way more than they're making now.
When you get rid of the arbitrary divisions between SEC and ACC and all that kind of stuff, because both Georgia and Florida State and
all those guys will be in
in that 6-game division, like every weekend game, every interconference game, and all of those are heavyweight matchups.
Yeah,
and the money attached to a TV deal for something like that for those 25
be
teams,
massive.
Yeah,
astronomical.
And Miami knows this, which is why they hired Cristobal, because he's a really good recruiter. Hopefully the results show on the field, because Miami does not want to be left out of this big pot that's going to be happening pretty soon. I don't know if they're going to be good enough to even want to be joined, if that anybody wants them to join, but we'll see. But that's one of the reasons Miami knows where this is going. They want to be a part of it.
You want to know one thing that I didn't talk about earlier, but one thing that is going to be very interesting is, as part of the proposal, the money paid from the NIL pools will be subject to Title IX rules, meaning that men and women must get the equal amount. So it will be very interesting to see how they equal the money that they want to spend on football. Basketball, it's, it's easier. What you might see is that some of these women's basketball schools might shift so that they are in the same place as men's basketball schools, right? UNC being one, Duke being another, so on and so forth. But the Title IX could be a good way to see women's sports get a little bit of a leg up. It's a proposal. It doesn't mean it's going to end up like this.
Right.
The minimum amount that they would have to set aside per player, I think, is $30,000.
Damn.
That's
4 years?
No,
Per year?
30 per year.
30 a year, which ain't bad.
Not bad if you're a freshman backup kicker. I'll just
there are guys in college who never play. There are guys who never
ever play because the teams are huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
$30,000 to be able to.
I remember being in college. 30
money,
racks would have been a big deal.
Right. For 4 years.
Right. That's what I said. 4 years would have been.
I didn't have $30,000 in my pocket for 4 years ago, let alone 1 year.
Straight up.
Anyways,
Straight up.
I just think that's an interesting little thing. I just wanted to throw that out there because women's sports. I think in some instances it'll be hard to match that. Alabama trying to figure out which women's programs are going to equal the football money they're going to spend.
Women's basketball, women's soccer, women's swimming, like the Olympic sports that women would.
Sure. But Alabama doesn't get any of those other programs. They're one program team. SC, they've got UCLA.
Yeah.
They've got some of the best women's team programs in the country.
Stanford. Yeah.
It's easy. Stanford. It's easy to see how they can make things shift. For Georgia, Georgia has golf, but for Alabama,
there ain't enough golfers
Oklahoma,
to match no football money.
Yeah.
I'm going back to school. I think I still got my eligibility if that's the case.
Yeah.
That's
right. There's a lot of there are 5 or 6 programs that are outstanding in golf that spend tons and tons of money. And then everybody else spends nothing.
I think Alabama's one of them, right? But men's
Alabama is one.
And I'm sure probably women's golf too then.
And Tennessee is another one, and Stanford and
Southern, you could play all
Texas.
year. That makes sense. Yeah. Interesting. No, that's cool. I'm curious to see how that plays out because, from where this conversation started with us even, about players getting paid and dissenting opinions on it to now, players have been paid and now the school's trying to say, well, let us control some of that money so we can kind of divvy it out versus basically boosters. It's an interesting thought. So
I think it's more. I think it's more just a break away from the NCAA and get a bigger team. That's what I think.
I can see that.
They're going to have the D1, and then they're going to have an FBS. Whatever series. But
everybody else, you're already moving towards it anyway with the Pac-12 and everybody dissolving and trying to move into
the TV money
divisions.
Deal.
The other players.
I would love to be in the room when they're talking about the TV money to get 30 of these. It's $1 billion. Like it's going to be stupid amounts of money. And you have to imagine that the USCs and UCLAs of the world had some idea that might come, which would be the end of the Pac-12 anyway. And so,
Well, Fox
half of
helped with that
place.
too. Fox helped move USC.
Yeah,
and
they moved
UCLA
over there
out, too.
anyway,
It
yeah.
helped them. Yeah, Fox helped a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. All right. So that's your college wrap up. Let's go to the NBA. In-season tournament is coming to a conclusion. They'll actually be playing the final Saturday. So you got, I guess, the final four basically is going to go to Vegas this weekend, play games, and then the final is Saturday night. Sounds like from what we're seeing, I mean, we've been talking about it. It's kind of created playoff atmosphere. I've heard players mention how it's created a playoff atmosphere. I didn't get to go to any of the games, but I've seen, quite a
I
few,
did.
seen the energy. So yeah, kind of what do you guys thinking as it ends, and what was that atmosphere like too, B? I mean, we talked about it previously, but
like I said, so I went to one of the regular season games, not the playoff games, but it was a game in which, under normal circumstances, by the third quarter, for regular season games, most people do not care about the outcome. And because of this extra level to it, players played a little bit harder. It seemed like there was interest because Utah had to I went to the Utah Lakers game. Utah had to beat the Lakers to keep their hopes alive of making the break rounds, whereas the Lakers had already secured their spot. And so, it was interesting. It was a contested game. I'm watching the Lakers Sun game to my right now. And you can tell that these players, KD and Booker, are heavily invested in this, and the Lakers are actually winning. The Lakers are undefeated in in-season tournament games. I don't think that's a coincidence, because the Lakers are not good enough or healthy enough or young enough to play great all the time. They have to motivate themselves in other ways.
Games,
and they seem to have found something with the in-season game. I think those basketball courts are ridiculous. But I do think it was interesting. And then I don't know if you guys watched the Pelicans-Kings game, but that was a really good basketball game for 3.5 quarters. Respect and rest in peace to the fan who died in the middle of that game.
Yeah.
But it had that playoff atmosphere. The Bucks-Knicks game,
they won by like 30.
I was gonna say the Bucks exposed them.
Yeah, they were getting smoked. Yeah.
But it was an entertaining game. And then, what was the other one? I'm looking at it now. It was Pacers-Celtics, where the Pacers, beat a team that a lot of people think will be a top team in the real playoffs later this season. Anyways, they accomplished the goal of making some early regular season games memorable, valuable, and worth watching, because I don't think any of us paid attention to the NBA, just like I don't pay attention to NCAA basketball until later in the year. When football season ends, the viewership of the NBA and NCAA basketball kind of starts to ramp up. This has made it so that there are games that are worth watching before that point.
Yeah, I've only watched when I was in San Diego at this wedding, and when I was at the bar. It's the only time I ever watched anything in the playing tournament. It's really hard for me to get into NBA games this time of year. I guess I'm so football invested, so I don't really have much to say about tournament. But I do say a lot though when I watch those games in San Diego. I did not watch the Lakers game today. I know they're on. I tracked the score, but I might watch them if they make the finals, because I don't think we're going to win the championships. This might be the only tournament we're going to win. So I might watch if they make the finals. GB, any thoughts on this?
I mean, it's been interesting to see, the courts have been weird for sure. Like B said, they went crazy with the colors, but it's been interesting to watch and see, it does feel like it's created a different intrigue in some of those games. I've heard players mention it. Like I said, it felt like a playoff atmosphere. And so I'm curious to see how it works out. It'd also be nice just to, Lakers might as well win the inaugural one. Might as well.
They got to win tonight first. So let's yeah. But anyways, for anyone who doesn't know how it works, this is the quarterfinals that are going on yesterday and today. And then the 4 teams that advance into the semifinals all go to Vegas. They play over at the T-Mobile on Friday night, with the championship being on Saturday night, before Glenn's and my arrival on Sunday, because they need to make sure that all that stuff is ready to go for us. But anyways, it will be interesting. It's kind of got a tournament style where all the games are being played together at T-Mobile on Friday and then Saturday night for the championship.
Yeah. What about any other thoughts on the rest of the season? I know we talked about the game with the Knicks today. They got smoked, but anything else you guys have been paying attention to?
No, not me. Orlando's doing pretty good. I predicted them to go to the playoffs, but they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, Orlando. There's some teams that look better than you would expect them to. Orlando being one. The Knicks until tonight is another because they were 12-7 going into this and in-season tournament, but also a fifth seed. And actually, I think they were the fourth seed until they lost tonight. Now they're down to the fifth seed. The Lakers obviously are kind of all over the place. It's hard to know what to make of them. The same with the Sacramento Kings, but they've also performed well and they look pretty good at times. They look really good at times. And then other times they look a little bit confused on how to play winning basketball. And then, of course, I think it's worth mentioning that the Warriors do not look like they have got it all figured out just yet.
No.
I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as to say that they look old because I really don't think that's it. I just think that they're struggling to find the team chemistry that they usually have.
Yeah. What's funny about that, Brian, is up here, I remember I went to the barbershop on Saturday, mainly to hear everybody talk trash about Philly and the Niners, but they still think the Warriors still have a championship shot. And it's like, yo, it's over. You know, you're old, you're expensive. It's a wrap. They're 9-11 right now, GB. They lost 3 of their last.
Expensive.
They've only won 3 of their last 10 games. I mean, but I want to give another shout out to Minnesota. That's a franchise I've always said doesn't belong in the NBA, but they're 15-4 right now, GB, and they're the number one
the Western
seed.
Conference.
They lead the Western Conference. Yeah, and I also want to give a shout out to San Antonio because I've always said Greg Popovich, no dunking, no rings. He's just getting checks. They lost 14 straight games with Wemby. 14 straight games, Glenn. They lost. They're 3-16. Wow. And I think Popovich just signed an extension, so he's going to be stealing more money for the next few years, and that team's still going to be terrible. But
yeah. If they can get a player or two, maybe. But
never heard somebody.
Yeah, they get Wembanyama. So first of all, I've told everybody I didn't think Wembanyama is making an impact this year. But if they get Wembanyama this year and then they get another superstar next year, it's hard to compete with that. By example, look what's happening with OKC that they've got Chet to go with SGA. Like two young superstars is formidable in the NBA.
And they were number 4 in the league when I looked the other day.
Especially once they do those 2 expansion teams, one of which is going to be in Las Vegas.
It's going to be another expansion. That's bad because we already have an expansion team. It's called the Detroit Pistons. They've lost 17 straight. They're 2-18. They're perennial lottery contenders. Let's see. Memphis is 5-14. We got Washington. That's an expansion team. They're 3-16. We already got enough expansion teams. We need to start cutting teams, but whatever.
That boy Jordan Poole over there, man.
Yeah, 3-16. They've won one of their last 10 games, and Detroit told you they lost 17 straight. So that's kind of hard to do.
We beat them so bad. That was crazy when I saw the score.
So NBA, just keep expanding.
Word. Okay. So last top before we get to, of course, our final 2 is the National Football League. So let's just start off the top, man, with the big win, man. Let's just start with these Niners, bro.
Man, let me tell y'all something. I heard so many people talk. I'm not talking about y'all. I'm just talking about so many people just run their yap. I had the quietest Sunday afternoon all season. I didn't hear nothing from nobody. That I went in the barbershop. I got the same thing I told you guys, man. Oh, man, Jalen Hurts this, Jalen Hurts that. I say, yo, look, I got nothing against Jalen Hurts. He's played better than I thought he would ever play. But let's be real. He got 3 throws, a dump off the running back DeAndre Swift, slant passes to AJ Brown and deep balls. There's no repertoire there. And I have to commend a guy who I slammed, defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. I have to commend him because he was able to contain Jalen Hurts and he didn't beat us run the ball. They made him beat us from the pocket, which I don't think he can do. And he didn't really do that well doing that because he had a lot of time to throw on a lot of dropbacks, and he just didn't know where to go with the football. And there were guys open, but he didn't know where to go with them. So I commend that game plan. I'm not saying Jalen's a bad player, a bad quarterback. I just think they played him
change. I like it.
I'm just saying they played him very, very well. Let's see. Let's talk about all the things I heard. Purdy can't go to Philly and win. Well, I don't know if you saw his statistics. He played pretty good that game, and he won the game as well. Philly's defense, I said on the podcast, linebackers are horrible. Secondary can definitely be exploited, way overrated. Debo talked trash about him last year. He went off. He only had 7 touches, but had 3 touchdowns, and none of those guys were willing to tackle him. Third, look, 49ers proved that they can go into Philly and they can win that game. The bigger picture is, though, that game, as far as I think the 49ers really needed that for their confidence in the show Philly that, they can be beat. And then there was actually a beat down as well.
Yeah,
It also showed that whenever the San Francisco 49ers are healthy and motivated, they destroyed Pittsburgh first game of the year, destroyed Jacksonville off a bye week. They destroyed Dallas because they're Dallas. And then they went into Philly and destroyed Philly because both teams was talking yap. And 49ers just backed it up a little bit better. Fifth, I don't care who wins the MVP, but I mean, look, Purdy is first in all the major statistical categories for quarterback. You could talk about Jalen all you want. You can't win MVP if you're not first among your peers in anything. You can't use wins as an example. He has 10, Purdy has 9. I don't care about how many wins you have. How
Wins has been pretty important.
I don't care about wins. That means
I know
Alex
you
Smith,
don't. I'm saying
means-
historically,
Your
there
team
have been
should
plenty of
win
years
if
where
you're-
Brady won because of wins.
Alex Smith won 13 games at the best league and had the best record in the league. So did Jimmy one year, had the best record in the league. Nobody was
Yeah.
talking about them was
And they
MVP.
competed with Tom Brady, who had all the wins as well.
Tom Brady didn't win MVPs those years. Number 6, I heard now I'm hearing all these
One of them we
excuses.
did.
Philly played KC. They played Buffalo. They played 49ers. Well, 49ers played three games in 13 days. That's very hard to do in NFL. And they got to play Seattle and they got to play Ravens. So I heard all these excuses. Haven't heard anything. Brock Purdy is as good as I thought he was. I'm not saying he's MVP. I'm not saying he's great, but he's a good quarterback and he proved it. Philly is not all that from the quarterback or overall team rating. They're a good team, but they're not all what everybody wants to make them out. A smash mouth, bona fide NFC representative for the Super Bowl. But what it did tell me is I think Philly and San Francisco are going to play again in the NFC championship game, and whoever wins that game, it really doesn't matter who won this one. It's about who wins that game. So, but I do have my first hogwash segment. I got 2, one for later, one for now. And my hogwash segment for this game is that security guard and Dre Greenlaw. I'm sorry. You cannot throw a player out when somebody who's not even associated with the football game acts like that. Former player. You cannot do that. He's a damn security guard or bodyguard, whatever he is, and he gets all up in Dre Greenlaw's grill and telling him what he needs to be doing and yapping back and forth. That's the guy you throw out the game. You don't throw out the player. I think that was hogwash. I think the referees definitely got that wrong, and that the security guard needs to be reprimanded for maybe the entire year and next year for what he did. That's like an assistant coach. That's like the assistant coach of a basketball team getting off the bench and going up into a player's face. You're not part of the game. You're an assistant coach. You sit down, or you're like the usher or something. You sit down. You're not part of the game. I understand you're emotionally invested in the game and you hate the 49ers, but you can't do that. He needs to be out of here. You threw Dre Greenlaw out the game. I think that was hogwash right there. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the game. Well, did y'all watch it? All of it, or turned it off?
I didn't see it.
Of course we did. On the thing though, his mistake was he threw a punch. He shouldn't have, and that's why he got kicked out. But I completely agree with you that it's a bunch of hogwash that the security guard had any kind of impact on that game. It's unfortunate, but keep your hands to yourself. Anyways, Jason, you absolutely deserve to talk as much trash as you want after your team just stomped them. But I have to at least point out that throughout this season, we have heard lots of different points of view on how good Brock Purdy is. He's all right. He's good. He's not great, but he's very good, blah, blah, blah. The moment you're like, he's as good as I thought he was, and maybe even an MVP, that's a hell of a lot better than you were saying he was earlier in the season.
I said I don't care if he wins MVP. I said he's still good. I said he's still not great. I said he's just good.
You went on to try to make a point that his stats are, you have to, in order to win the MVP, you have to,
Right.
So you're like, I'm not saying this, but what I want to say is he's great. I mean, that's kind of how that one felt. I just wanted to point that out. You've had a couple different points of views on how that guy is, and that's the 49er quarterback. Look, they played really great. I think the one thing that you said that I think needs to be highlighted is that when they are healthy and interested and invested, motivated, that they are I think the most important part of that is healthy. And we've been kind of talking about that throughout the season, because the times where they slipped, again, this is a 49er team that lost to the Vikings. That was when McCaffrey was dinged up and was really playing that game mostly to be a decoy. And it threw a lot of their offense out of whack, because they couldn't do what they really wanted to do. I actually hope that they stay healthy, because for me, it's always the best thing to do is to watch the best teams healthy play and see who really is the best. Like, I don't want to hear any excuses from anyone. McCaffrey got hurt, or we would have won it.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts got hurt, or DeAndre Swift, or Devontae Smith, or whatever. No one wants to hear that. So I actually hope everyone stays healthy. That being said, I think that health is super important to the 49ers, because while they have a ton of really, really great skill players, Kittle is really great. Debo, really great.
Huge.
Ayuk, really great. McCaffrey, really great. For whatever reason, they need all of them in place to have that balance and equilibrium, and they kind of fall out of sync when any one piece of it isn't there. When Kittle's not playing, when Ayuk is, or Debo isn't playing. So I hope that they get all of that, because it is more fun to watch the best teams, which the 49ers are definitely in the conversation to be, play healthy against the other best teams, which, obviously the Philadelphia Eagles, even after getting beat down, they're still the number one seed. But I do think it's just more interesting to watch that. As far as the game goes, it was fun to watch. That was a hell of a lot of offense. They put, I think I text you guys. I was watching all the hype before the game, and the Philly fans were just freaking obnoxious.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're known for that.
Well,
they were horrible.
So were the 49er fans. They're known for being obnoxious too.
They're gonna match.
But Philly went so far as I think I actually texted you. I'm like, I'm perfectly okay with watching them get Philly fans get disappointed and get smacked after all of the way that they were treating people. They got what they deserved. It was, they were a little extra. They just naturally assumed that they were going to win. And San Francisco put hands on them, and that was fun to watch.
Yeah, I got clear. I'll tell you this, Brian. I'm clarifying. Purdy is good. Still not great. I'm not saying that. He's just good. That's why I say he is who I thought he was. A good quarterback.
I ask you a question?
Not great. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is for one of our listeners.
Yep.
Do you think that the San Francisco 49ers are a juggernaut?
What do you mean by juggernaut? When they're healthy? Because when they're healthy, you see they score 30 points a game. But I don't know if they're going to stay healthy all season. I hope so. We have to see. But our offensive line, though, even though they played well this game, because I've kind of slammed them, and rightfully so, they played well this game. I don't know if they're going to have games like that, for the rest of the season. I don't know. We've got to take a game by game.
They're a very good team, but we would not go to juggernaut.
No. I'm not going to say juggernaut. No. Can't say juggernaut. No, you got to go like a Georgia
for
Bulldog run.
You heard it here.
Yeah. But also, let me tell the listener one more thing, too, as well. Whoever that is, I'm going to let you know. People are saying the only reason that, Purdy
he thinks
is in
that they
the
are a juggernaut.
No. The people saying the reason Purdy is in the MVP conversation because he gets so many yards off of yards after catch, and he's just not doing much. He's just throwing screen passes, and they're just running 80 yards. Well, let me tell you the last three MVPs. Last three MVPs. Mahomes last year, 54% of his yards was after the catch. Rodgers the year before, 52.7% of his yards were after the catch. And then the year before Rodgers, 52% of his yards after the catch. This year, Brock Purdy, 48.6. So I don't even want to hear it's all about yards after catch.
I knew that stat because said listener gave me that stat as part of his "they are a juggernaut" argument. So, anyways,
that doesn't make it less though. He's still getting plenty of yards off of having those skill players that are amazing. But he could ball though.
But the other quarterbacks got more yards after the catch than Purdy. That was my point.
Yeah,
people just say it's all yards.
That's offensive design of your players too.
So, I was going to say, if I were to respond to that, none of those other teams had 5 amazing positions. It's easy to spread the ball around and throw short and into single coverage because you have so many good players. Because you can't double everybody at any point in time. So it's easy to get Ayuk in an end, or Debo in an end, or McCaffrey on a screen, or any of these types of things, like Kittle, because they are all awesome. You're not able to put, 2 corners and a safety over the top on any one of them.
Brian, I'd rather have Tyreek Hill. Okay, you can have 2 of those guys. Give me Tyreek Hill. Okay, because he can turn the screen or a deep ball or anything.
Yeah, of course, everyone would like to have Tyreek Hill. He's freaking amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, give me Tyreek.
You can't have Tyreek Hill without getting rid of 2 of those guys, basically.
That's what I'm saying. I would get rid of 2 of those guys for Tyreek Hill in a minute. Yeah.
Sure, and you would still have more of the best players concentrated on one team because you get rid of Ayuk and Debo and put Tyreek Hill there. But he still gets to play with McCaffrey and
Let me
George
ask you
Kittle.
this.
Yeah,
Who
it's
had
crazy.
more weapons? Tom Brady in Tampa Bay with Godwin, with Antonio Brown, with Mike Evans, and with Fournette, and with Grunt,
Mm-mm.
or
Yeah.
San Francisco?
49ers by a
49ers.
lot.
Oh
By a
shit.
lot.
Shit.
By
Yeah,
a
I'll take the
lot.
Niners.
Yeah. Antonio
Fournette was
Brown.
gotten rid of. He was picked up off the scrap heap.
Who?
Fournette when he went to Tampa.
Yeah, no, I'll
He was
take
picked up off of a
Tom
scrap
was
And-
doing his thing, but
Man,
y'all
Antonio
offensive
Brown and
game plan
Glock?
is yeah.
Come
but
on, man.
Antonio
Scotty
Brown, you never know.
Miller, Mike Evans. Mike Evans.
How did that Antonio Brown experiment work?
At the
It
end,
worked good.
bad.
They won a Super Bowl. He count like
Yeah, it
4
went-
or 5 touchdowns.
He went bad at the end, but no, I
They
go. You
went back-
guys,
right? Exactly.
the game plan that y'all run, man, is like you just got to give props to the offensive
Not even
coordinator,
close between us.
to Shanahan, because it's a thing of beauty, man. How Kittle is not even catching passes in a lot of these games. He's just
Mhm.
an intense
to block.
blocker.
Yeah,
But
has
what
to
he
block.
does,
Huge
what he
blocks.
does, he makes an impact every single game.
Yeah.
Whether it's blocking,
Yeah.
whether
Every game.
it's whether
And
it's
if
a
you
big
don't
pass.
account for it, they put him out. Like the game plan's been
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
John Lynch gets credit, man. They built a hell of a team.
But
You
did
just
you
gotta-
did you
need
see
every
that?
player.
But did you see that screenplay George Kittle that was the same play that Brock Purdy got hurt. They ran the exact same play. They let Hassan Reddick come through. He just threw that screen to George
Got it
Kittle. That's
off,
why
yeah.
he was so wide open. That's why, because they
Yeah,
really the same play.
the game plan's crazy, man.
You
And
know?
they deserve to win. So what about the rest of the as we keep rolling? Me and Brian's teams are on bye. They're playing against each other Sunday. We'll be at the game. So
I'm glad you said something. And what y'all think about the Dallas Cowboys? Because everybody's putting Dak Prescott in the MVP conversation. Like I said, I don't care who wins an award, but the thing to me is that they haven't beat a team with a winning record. How the hell you in the MVP conversation?
How
you
many
ain't beat a team with
touchdowns
a
did
record?
Geno Smith have in that game?
How many do you have? 4? Yeah, 4, right.
Can we calm down that the Cowboys are outstanding when, look, I have Geno Smith on my team and I actually think that he's okay, but he's always a 2-touchdown guy. He is not a 4-touchdown guy. I don't think we can talk about how great the Cowboys are when 2-touchdown guys are scoring 4 touchdowns and they only win in late based off of field goals, essentially. I think all the Dallas Cowboy fans need to calm it down. It'll be a really good game this week when it's Dallas versus Philly.
Yeah.
It's a quarterback league
To make the number 1 seed available to someone else if they were to win, but I don't think they're there yet.
Yeah, I'm a Cowboy fan this week. Die hard.
I know you are. That 1 seed is
die hard. Yeah.
Important.
I know. Yeah, you and Jelani, you guys go over there and wear Tony Dorsett.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna hit up Jelani, see where he's watching the game at. Yeah, you can come through. We'll be Cowboy fans for a day. But I don't know. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to quick recap from the last week.
Yeah.
My hogwash 2 is going to be on another game.
Can we talk about the Chargers though, or they got a fork in them? Not only did they win, but
they covered.
But they covered, but they also shut out the other team. Glenn, are you impressed?
Bro, come on, man. We ain't got that much time left in the show. That's a waste of time. You're never gonna get that breath back in your life. You should have spent that on JoJo and Alyssa. That was a complete waste of air.
Man.
6-0, baby.
6-0, man.
Against
Chargers
the historically worst team ever. Get that out of here. Bill Belichick did his thing for years. This is not it. Give me the next.
That was probably the only game that wasn't on the Red Zone channel. I don't think anybody was in the Red Zone all game.
Well, they had it. Unfortunately, that game was on live television in Los Angeles.
Get that out of here. All right. So
thankfully.
To other games. Let's talk about the rest of these are kind of.
Well, Washington was who I thought they were. Ron Rivera started calling the defense, and so I took the over in that one.
We're getting to the
Lions
playoffs.
New Orleans was a good game.
Carr got hurt again. Carr's been getting roasted, man. Like he don't have the history that he had with us. Yeah, he don't have the history he got with us, man. Like this is his first year there. He don't got the, so a lot of fans love him.
It ain't been going good. What about Houston, man?
Houston's fabulous. CJ Stroud is going nuts. They got that Broncos win, which I appreciate it.
Man, Houston. Give it up for them.
CJ Stroud deserves a lot of credit, man. That their game plan, D'Amico,
all the credit.
Tank Bell, what they put together and created in 1 year is pretty phenomenal.
It's put together all around. It's D'Amico, it's the offense coordinator, CJ Stroud, all working together in unison.
Defense
they all deserve
is doing
credit.
enough.
Yeah.
That
Noah
defense,
Brown, Nico Collins, all these guys, we did not know who they were.
Yeah.
And Dameon Pierce finished the season horribly. CJ Stroud gets a ton of credit for what he's able to do there. Even when he has a bad week, like he only had one passing touchdown this year. I mean, this week, he is still the reason why that team is winning.
Yeah, wide receivers don't make the quarterback. Quarterbacks makes the wide receiver. And also defensively, Houston doesn't have a lot of talent.
Unless it's Tyreek Hill.
Right. Yeah, D'Amico Ryan got that defense. They're not overly talented, but they play hard and they play right. They do exactly what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, they get a lot of credit. They're right there in the AFC race for the wild card. What about so Kansas City, Green Bay, and then Cincinnati, Jacksonville? I think are in my opinion, the only games.
I was going to say we need to talk about Cincinnati, Jacksonville. So which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, don't you want to talk about that PI? Aren't you guys going to get on the refs about that PI in the Kansas City Green Bay game? Because I think the receiver got mauled. I don't think anybody's mad KC lost, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He got so mauled that one of our close friends who is a huge Green Bay fan even said, damn, that was a bad.
Oh, yeah, we're going to call it out. I mean, we're going to call it out.
Like, it was awful.
Refs have been bad all year, and it went against KC for once.
Yeah.
Well, twice, actually, because they got in that Jets game, too.
Yeah, I was almost going to do a second hogwash round on the referees, which I've never done before. I know you guys have, but I'm just like,
terrible.
Really? How you missed that? I mean, it's been bad. You can't have that kind of no call on the damn national TV game.
It's hard not to believe. It's hard when people say, the conspiracy theories that the games are altered when you have just obvious pee-wee football plays that you should call that are just no called.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason, we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago. I can't remember if it was last week or whatever.
Yep.
But Jordan Love again.
Played better.
He had 3 times. He played a good game. I've talked to other people about this. He should absolutely get next season.
It looks like he's about
100%.
to. It looks like he's about to.
Because in the middle of it, like he started off strong. I think, and the number of times where, God, I hate to defend Aaron Rodgers in any way, shape, or form, but his numbers and statistics were basically the same as Jordan Love was this season and his first season. Like Aaron Rodgers, they weren't winning championships. His numbers weren't outstanding now from seasons 2 and beyond. But I think Jordan Love, he's not great, but he's a young quarterback trying to find his place.
Well, what I've noticed is he's ripping the ball now. He's like throwing the ball down the field now. And they're just letting him go.
In the playbook.
And the thing is, so by him throwing the ball down the field more, I've noticed he's not really a precision thrower. You just have to let him kind of go out there and kind of Favre-like. He's just doing his thing. He's kind of slinging the ball, and that's his thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can win games with a guy who slings the ball downfield, and that's what he's been doing. And he has receivers to grow up with, so we'll see how that goes because they're all about the same age. But that's the one thing I've noticed, that he's throwing the ball down the field. And he could be in the playoffs. And with that schedule, they definitely could be in the playoffs. So I think definitely he's going to get another year. And I think
he's got me in the playoffs in Brian's league, and that ain't happened in years. And I played him against KC knowing, like, basically I'm looking at him like you play the better quarterback, even if they're playing a better team. I have him in Carr, and of course I love Carr, but you play the better quarterback, and he showed out. So I got to, regardless of the fantasy stuff, like, dude is playing good football, man. They're winning games. He's staying competitive.
It's hard.
He's doing it.
Yeah, not everyone who starts their first season plays like CJ Stroud.
Yeah. Speaking of Kansas City, I'm telling you right now, you heard it here first. They're going to the Super Bowl. I don't care if they lost to Green Bay.
Yeah,
they're going to the Super Bowl.
It's hard. It's
Cincinnati
like the
has
old
no
Brady
quarterback.
days, man. You can't bet against them.
I'm not trusting Buffalo. Cincinnati has no quarterback.
Jake Browning threw for 354 yards.
Yeah, most people think
AFC's open.
Yeah. I don't think it's open. I think it's KC. I just do.
I think it's KC's to lose. I would agree.
I can't.
I also think, but I do think both. I think there are plenty of teams that will take a shot at him, but I do think it's KC on top and everybody else fighting for the next spot.
Yeah.
Well, when I say it's open, I mean KC's your winner, but there's not a lot of top teams in the AFC that you're looking at like, oh man, they're going to be so.
Everybody has flaws.
Everybody's super flawed, including KC, but KC has a history to cash. They've done this, so I agree.
Well,
what about speaking of Cincy? Jake Browning did get off. I mean, it's a Jacksonville team that lost Lawrence. He still had to throw the passes.
This was a much better
Chase,
game.
But
this was a much better game than it was supposed to be. I mean, first of all, rest in peace to dude's ankle, Trevor Lawrence's ankle. It was sad to see, and I'm actually happy that for once an ankle injury looks like it was an ankle injury, because every other time they've used it this season related to a quarterback, it's because the Achilles was done and they called it an ankle injury until the MRI came back
So they could do
and
it.
said
Yeah.
it was and said it was the
High ankle
Achilles.
sprain. Yeah.
Yeah, but what was crazy about the game is I watched this game pretty closely, and I had gotten to the point where I wanted to text either you guys or someone else that Trevor Lawrence throws a really pretty football. It looks like it's supposed to look. It looks like a spiral. It looks like, there's no wobble on it. It gets to where it's supposed to be. He throws for accuracy, and he's a good quarterback. He's not the best or anything like that, but he's a good quarterback. He throws a good ball. And CJ Beathard went 9 for 10. I mean, it wasn't like he went in there, but he's obviously not the same guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to win you. He's not going to win you.
He's not going to win. He's not going to win you any football game. So
he can barely win you a game. Yeah.
Hopefully Jacksonville can hold on to a spot until Trevor Lawrence gets back and maybe get into the playoffs and play, because they were playing pretty well. They were 8-3 before now. And Cincinnati, I don't think they're able to do anything. I think the only reason they're still in the conversation is Jamar Chase is pretty darn good when he can get the ball thrown to him, and they were having trouble with that. Or in the middle of the season, and when Burrows got hurt, it was a little bit of a problem. But Mixon and Chase, who are supposed to be two of their more talented players, had a really big game. It was actually fun to watch, especially since I have both of them in my fantasy league. But it was nice to see Cincinnati play football that resembles the playoff team that we thought they were before at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, my takeaway from this game is you can't take Jacksonville seriously. You let Jake Browning just carve up your defense like that. I can't take you seriously as a contender. I don't even know what Houston Texans record is, but now I'm rooting for them to win that division, even though I picked them to come in last before the season started. I don't know how many games. Who was the backup for Jacksonville? CJ Beathard, right? He was with the 49ers. Good luck trying to win a game with him from start to finish. That doesn't happen very often and very rarely. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's downhill from now for Jacksonville until Trevor Lawrence gets back. And with a high ankle sprain, that can take a while to heal. And I hope he doesn't come back too early. Might ruin his not ruin his career, but probably take it longer to heal if he comes back too early. So we'll see. But that's my takeaway. Jacksonville is just done.
Word. So let's slide to this week. Let's just start. Me and Brian will be at the game. Our teams play against each other Sunday. I am not looking at the line. I'm just kind of calling out the games.
Minnesota -3.
And who are you picking?
Probably. Obviously we know who I'm gonna go with, who Brian's gonna go with.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun to be there.
I go against my team all the time, but I will pick Minnesota this week because I think they actually want to and need to win this game.
I'm never picking my team against my team if I'm at the game. I don't care who they playing. But I think it's like Brian said earlier, it's gonna be a one-score game. So it could go either way. I'm excited to see Justin Jefferson. I'm glad he's back because it's when you watch these games, you want to see the best players out there. So
players play.
I think
if Pierce wants to keep
our
a job,
has to get back up. Our defense has to get back up. If they do, we have a chance.
If Pierce wants to keep his job, he needs to win this game. He needs to win this game. You can't lose this game and expect to be the coach next year. It's not going to happen. So he has to win. So it'll be interesting.
Agree. Yeah, it'll be fun. Me, Brian, mom, and sister out there, so that'll be fun. You guys got the Niners Seahawks on Sunday.
Hey, as long as Geno Smith is playing, I'm not worried. It's all good. We ain't lost every time.
4 TDs,
playing,
man. 4 TDs.
Every time Geno Smith plays, we win.
Santa Clara.
It's a 10
San Francisco
point.
minus. Let's just get
10.
to the point. -10.5. San Francisco minus 10.
I'm taking the points. I'm taking Seattle on the points. Coming off that Philly win, I expect the 49ers to start off a little bit slow off that high from Philadelphia's win, and then break loose at the end and tighten it up and win. Yeah,
that's what we really want to hear. Rams Ravens, Baltimore -7.
Where they play? Oh, they're in Baltimore. Oh, I'm taking
Baltimore.
I'm taking Baltimore. I'm taking Baltimore -7. I am giving up the points. Yeah, I mean the Rams. The Rams at home and the Rams on the road. I don't like in the forecast calls for rain too. Yeah, I'm going for Baltimore -7. I think the next game I want to talk
Bills,
about
Chiefs.
with you guys. Yes, that's what I want to talk about. Who are you guys taking? It's Chiefs -2.5.
Chiefs. Me too.
Me too. Yeah, I
They'll
don't think
and-
they
always
and-
figure
and
they'll
easily to
figure out a
cover.
way to win those games.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, I don't think
Always
it's
Easily
gonna
figure
be
out a way
close.
to win those games. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be close. Oh, for you, Glenn,
Nope,
Denver
nope,
Chargers.
nope. Don't do it. Don't do it. Nope, we're not talking about it. Next, so
LAC, the Chargers are 3-point favorites.
Oh man.
man, we're not talking about it. So
Okay.
last segment, it was great. I love the show with you guys, man. Love you guys a lot. Last segment's minute to win it, starting with hogwash. I don't think I have a hogwash. I'd probably throw it to the refs. So,
Okay.
or actually my own golf game because I haven't played in 3 weeks and I shot the highest score I've shot in years.
I had a rough week
Saturday.
too.
So, yeah. What about you guys for hogwash?
Mine is gonna be the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is one of the many reasons I said there are just too many teams in the major professional sports, MLB, NBA, and NFL. And that extra team in NFL is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, I said I don't take them seriously after they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals, but that's not really the main reason I don't take them seriously. I don't take them seriously because their star quarterback, franchise quarterback, gets hurt, and you guys don't even have a damn cart to take them off the field.
That was crazy.
Everybody in Florida has a cart. I know somebody that has a cart, and they don't even golf, and they live in Florida, and they have a cart. And you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a free agent. I'm looking at you, and I'm supposed to come to your franchise, and I get hurt, and you got to
That's
have
real.
the security guard take me off, so I have to spend 5 minutes trying to get off the damn field myself when I'm hella hurt. Hell no. There's no need
to argue.
that's why they play 2-3 games in England and every year. I mean, this is a joke franchise. If I'm a free agent, I would never want to go there. You don't even have a damn golf cart to take your franchise player off the court. I know that didn't bother a lot of people, but that bothered me. I'm
That's
just
real.
from the outside looking in.
I don't think
So
it registered
that's
for
hogwash.
me, but I'm retroactively upset about it, given what you just
real
told me,
talk.
sir.
Yeah, I saw it too. Yeah, real talk.
There's going to be a theme to the things I talked about tonight. So my hogwash is DeSantis's weak self. I don't know if I will talk about that in a minute, but DeSantis came out today to slam college football and threaten to sue them because FSU got snubbed. Like, really, man? Stay in your lane.
Sure,
You do it. Yeah. Hogwash. Stay in your lane. Nobody wants to hear about you. We haven't heard your name once associated with anything having to do with sports or college football anywhere.
Right.
You're down like 40 points in Florida, and so now you want to come over here and talk about something that might get you some publicity. Shut the hell up. Like, hogwash.
Yep. Okay.
Real talk.
And then minute to win it. Mine real quick is shout out to Tiger Woods, man, playing meaningful golf at the Hero World Championship. That was just cool to see.
Four
Hero World
rounds? Challenge.
He didn't, he was in the middle of the pack, but it was cool to see him play. But it was a good tournament overall. It was fun to watch. So that was all I got. As Tiger was playing meaningful golf was fun to see.
My minute to win is for y'all, family members, all of y'all. Have fun in Vegas. Be safe.
Yes, sir.
Hope the game ends in a tie, so y'all can get mad about it and talk about it in the next show.
Hey, that's not a loss.
Right, it ain't. It really ain't.
Anyways, here's where I'm going to go with it. It seemed thematic, but this was actually something that I was thinking about before. I don't know if people got to watch the governor's debates that happened last, Tuesday or Wednesday. But the California governor, Newsom, absolutely demolished DeSantis in that debate. As somebody who has watched a fair number of debates in my life, I know what a dismantling looks like.
Yep.
Yeah, and a few. And this was textbook ass whooping. And he looked like the next best Democratic president, which is likely to be in 28. But it was awesome to watch DeSantis sit there with that plastic smile. For those of you who ever watched DeSantis, when he's been taught to just have this fake plastic smile because he doesn't smile normally. And so his smile looks really awkward. It was amazing to watch. If you go find some clips, if you like sports and you like watching teams get beat up, you can watch Team Florida get beat up by Team California pretty significantly if you want to go and check that out.
Word. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for checking us out. Sports Counterpoints, December 5th, 2023. We'll catch you next week. Peace.